inserting biology into everything. So it's not just what kind of knowledge do you need to have about chemistry in general, but how does that chemistry knowledge affect biological systems? You know, how does that physics knowledge apply to biological systems? And so that's why they've done this. They've also increased the amount of biochemistry that's on the exam necessarily, I think. So that goes hand in hand with this as well. And Adam will share with you a little bit more about, you know, kind of how that breakdown works out in the section of the subjects that are going to be tested in there. So you have both chemistries here, as well as physics that they'll be covering in biochemistry. Okay. The biology section is now biological and biochemical foundations of living systems. So again, you're going to see not just biology here, but some chemistry and stuff too. So they've infused it, infused it throughout. And then the new section is psychology, sociology are needed now to take the MCAT, because psychological, social, and biological foundations of behavior is the new section. Why this new section? Why does this make sense for the MCAT moving forward? Well, we all know, you know, over the years that doctors have not always been known for their people skills, right? Brilliant people, and you know, depending on what doctor you have, they're either really good at the bedside manner or really not, right? And so I think that what AAMC is trying to say moving forward is that our new generation of doctors, we're going to need to address this. They're going to need to have these people skills, because, you know, you're like, I always think of that show Medical Detectives, you know. Every doctor is pretty much like a medical detective, right? You're out there asking questions, trying to figure out what the history of a person is, and trying to help them identify what is wrong with you, you know, why are you having these symptoms? And part of that is actually communicating with the person. And so we need to kind of understand human behavior to a certain basic extent to be able to help us ask the right questions, get the right information, have a certain type of personalities, right? And so it makes a lot of sense to include this. Obviously, they're including it on the MCAT because you'll be working with a lot more with this in medical school as well. But they want you to have this foundational knowledge now before you even go to medical school. And a lot of you might already have included one or two of these classes, either psychology or sociology, just because of general education requirements into your mix. But for those of you who haven't yet, that's where you really want to look at this and see for your timeline, when am I going to apply to medical school, and how can I fit that psychology and sociology in before I have to go take the MCAT, because you do have to have those classes now, in addition to all your other science coursework before you go to take the MCAT. So this is a quick overview. You have the chemical and physical foundations, critical analysis and reasoning skills, biological and biochemical foundations, and psychological, social, and biological foundations, and all four of those. The things that haven't changed pretty much is the multiple choice aspect of the test. It's still multiple choice. You still have just 4 answer choice options for each question, A through D. Also, it is still passage-based. It's 80% passage-based, 20% freestanding questions. Freestanding question being one that you just simply answer on your own that doesn't reflect back to any particular passage. So just a question out there. We'll have a couple of samples of those today. And then your score is based on number of questions correct. Typically, when you go to take the real MCAT, there's a slight curving of scores, not that you really see, but before they set the scale that's going to, you know, affect that particular set of scores. So it is to some degree dependent on the whole group of students taking the MCAT at the time that you take it, that your score kind of reflects against, but it's not a straight curve. So there is still also no guessing penalty. So obviously, in terms of a strategy, you want to make sure you answer every question on an MCAT exam. Give yourself time to put something down for every question, even for the ones you didn't have time to actually attempt. Okay. That's important. Also, this is pretty much a computer-based test now. This is kind of the number of questions breakdown. Oh, that's what it is. This is working, but you can't see it on the TV screen. I was like, where's my pointer? So, number of questions for chemistry, physics, 59, 59, and 59 for all those sections, and then 53 for cars. So, pretty evenly spaced out. The actual content time is hours, 15 minutes, but your actual seated time is going to be closer to 7.5 hours. You do have breaks, which they do continue to consider optional, but we highly recommend that you do take those breaks. You're obviously going to be doing a lot of major thinking throughout this test, and for each section, as you get breaks in between, it's important for you to give yourself a little breather before you go on to the next section of the exam. Right now, the test has been offered far fewer number of times this year than in previous years for the computer-based test, only 14 testing dates. So far that still remains, the AAMC has not announced any additional testing dates besides the ones they've originally given us for 2015 MCAT. You can register for all the spring dates, and as of April 21st and 23rd, you'll be able to register for all the rest of the summer dates as well. So if you do plan to take it this year in the summer, make sure you're registering those dates, or right next to those dates, because those spots will fill up within a day or two, as we saw with the last set of spring dates. I think it was by the end of the first day, everything was full in California. So testing dates fill up very quickly. It is now a $300 test, so yay, you get to pay even more to take an MCAT. You are still going to, for summer testing dates, you will be able to receive your results within the usual 30 to 35 days. Just for those April and May testing dates, you'll have to wait till June to get your scores for those. Security is very stringent at the computer labs that you're going to go to take the exam, so you want to be careful not to have that much stuff that you're bringing with you, maybe a small sweater or to dress in layers in case it's cold in there, but otherwise not bring anything else except for maybe your ID, and if they allow it, like a pencil or something. I think that they provide you with the writing utensils when you're there, though. Even I don't know what you could smuggle into the room if you bring your own pencil, but apparently they think people are more crafty. So and they'll be taking your fingerprint, your signature verification, signing over your first child, everything that they think you need to prove that you are you, and you'll be doing this every time you exit or enter the room. So so a little bit weird, but overall you won't really be thinking about any of that. You'll be thinking about the MCAT, right? In terms of the timing breakdown, this is kind of what you can see, about 90 minutes for cars and 95 minutes for the other 3 sections individually. So that's pretty good, and then you do have your optional breaks in between the sections. Now it is a long day, but you get a short lunch. So you do get to have 30 minutes after the second section to go and grab some food, so that's nice, right? You don't have to subsist on granola bars for 8 hours in front of the computer. So definitely there's that opportunity, and you want to take that, to take a little break. Honestly, I've been working in Princeton Review for the last 10 years, and I can tell you, when I started working for Princeton Review, the MCAT test was an 8-hour paper and pencil test. So this is not anything new in terms of the length of time to take the MCAT and the amount of pressure of doing that. Now, of course, when it was on paper and pencil, of course, it's a little easier for us and something we're more used to take a tough test like this on paper, so that had its benefit. And they also had an hour lunch instead of half an hour lunch back then. But for the most part, they're pretty much going back to their roots here in lengthening out the test again. And it seems to be, anyway, so far, a smarter test for what we're trying to do moving forward. But Adam can give you his opinion as well on what he thinks about that and the changes. But you can kind of see what to expect for your testing day. Just a quick comparison, I've already kind of verbally done this, but a quick visual comparison of what the old MCAT versus the new MCAT is providing. Most importantly, the extra section, quite a few more questions, and the new scoring scale is what's going to be of super significance to everybody, I think. Let me know how I'm doing on time too, because I don't have my watch with me. Okay, thank you. That really doesn't apply anymore. Test administrations, I think I went through this already. sadly, you won't be getting any more Amazon gift cards for doing a summer schedule, summer MCAT. They were really just trying to push everybody to take the first wave of tests in April, so they were dangling that gift card opportunity for people. This is a typical timeline to take the MCAT and apply for medical school. So you want to think about your own time frame as well, and also that most important piece of not forgetting to insert psychology or sociology academics prior to taking the test. And then if you are thinking about preparation for the test, typical prep course, especially for Princeton Review, is going to be at least 2 months long, probably 3 months of intensive work. So you want to kind of backtrack from your testing date to think about when you're going to need to start prepping for that, to build that in. Many students do find success taking a prep course even while they're in school, but a lot more students prefer to do it over the